Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is well. We're gonna get started now. So I hope everyone has a wonderful week and is ready for this week. And we're gonna take a look at the market together. We can go over any pairs, any questions you may have for the next 1 hour or so. Market moved quite a bit today. I don't know if you guys were around. I saw a lot of yen pairs that moved quite a bit today. I'm not sure if anybody caught the yen pairs. Um, there was a bunch of yen pairs that moved quite a bit today, but my favorite one was euro yen. I actually caught this trade. I was actually pretty surprised that the price moved quite a bit just from Sunday till now. It's really not even a full day, but price moved quite a bit. But it was a clean price action, and we talked about this last Wednesday on the stream as well. So I'm not sure anyone caught any of the yen pairs, but I think they all moved quite a bit from really this Sunday afternoon, so to speak, to now, New York session. But I thought I'd quickly go over this really quick before we started. Euro yen, we talked about this last Wednesday. We talked about this overall structure here that could potentially form a continuation correction. And if we look closely at what the price did, when we kind of just zoom out a little bit, why I like this one better than a couple of the yen was that we basically had a larger structure. Remember, this is the larger structure, and price actually impulsed out of the larger structure. Okay, so the difference here is that we have a confirmed impulsive phase outside of this larger structure. And after the confirmed bearish impulse, we have a confirmed larger correction. And within the larger correction, we have a little bit more development at the time. I thought this was a nice head and shoulder at the time when I was looking for a potential entry. This is what I see at the time. I thought that was looking really clean. We have a head and shoulder. We have basically a bearish impulse within the larger structure. And if we look at the lower time frame, we basically have structures within structure, right? We have that right shoulder, kind of like a bearish flag, and then we have kind of a smaller ascending channel moving the price correctively moving up. So this is actually a very nice clean setup that I was looking at. And basically I just went for a set of reversal entry order. As you guys know, reversal, it's a little bit more risky because it didn't have a push down followed by a correction yet, but I thought this is enough risk reward if you sell down to like the previous low, right? It's about almost 4.6 to 1 or so. And I thought I'd enter that trade and was still pushing down pretty aggressively. It kind of did pull back here a little bit. And it just continued down kind of through the London session or so. So I just kind of take profit after it hit the previous low. I thought 4.6 to 1 or so is actually decent profit already. And I went to sleep after that. I think during the London session till now, price kind of slowly recover. But lots of yen pairs have moved quite a bit, exactly same kind of formation like the one that we talk about. And I thought euro yen ultimately has the better price action. I was also looking at pound yen as well. It basically had the same kind of setup, right? That kind of head and shoulder, that right shoulder, and then structure within structure, ascending channel within this right flag. I ultimately chose euro yen just because pound yen, when I kind of zoom out here, I felt like it's still within this correction here, whereas euro yen broke out of this structure. I think that's the difference here for me to choose euro yen over pound yen. Okay, so I thought I'll quickly go over this position quickly just before we get started. So anybody live, anybody here now, welcome you guys, and let's go over any pairs or anything that you guys are looking out for the week ahead. So hit me up with any pairs or any questions you may have. We can go over them together. Glad to see a lot of you guys. So let's get started. I'm gonna see some pairs and stuff like that. Nasdaq. Let's take a look at Nasdaq here. So when I zoom out here on indices, Nasdaq here, to me, I'm still looking at this as the structure that we're currently in, right? So this is the current structure that we're in. bearish impulse down. I felt this is still the larger structure that we're in. We did see price kind of slowly climbing up here during the kind of the Asian session to New York session now, right? So market opens this week, Sunday afternoon for me, and not much has happened. It kind of slowly climbing up. And once here, we originally had that bearish move down. It's the same as those yen pairs that we moved down during the Asian session. And then during the for London session till now, price has basically recovered most of it, right? So I felt like this is going to be a larger consolidation on Dow Jones. It will be the same thing as S&P 500, and I feel like it's going to be the similar like Nasdaq here as well. It's just that Nasdaq kind of doesn't really have a structure. I feel like this is more of an expanding structure within this larger correctional phase that we're in. Whereas I think S&P 500 is slightly nicer because we broke out of this larger continuation correction and we're still within this smaller lower time frame continuation. So if I was looking for a indices to sell, if that's kind of what my bias is right now in terms of a more leaning towards sell, I would choose S&P. I would choose Dow Jones as well. I feel like these are at least structures that are easily more recognizable compared to Nasdaq, where it doesn't have a structure here. Okay, but my bias is be looking for downside, but right now doesn't look like there is a entry available here. But S&P and Dow Jones, like I said, if they do develop, it will be something that I will be looking out for. Entry, so why is Euro Yen entry so low on the 5-minute chart? I'm not sure what you mean here, right? I'm entering based on what I see, right? I just go on the 5-minute chart to show you. This is a clear reversal entry, right? This is a clear impulsive phase. This is a clear continuation correction with already few swing highs and few swing low, and we basically move up correctively in an ascending channel. So I'm not sure about what you mean by the entry is so low on 5-minute chart. I set an entry order as a reversal entry, right? When prices reversal down. I mean, you could enter a little bit lower, but it's the same idea, right? So pound dollar, euro dollar, let's take a look at them together. So euro dollar here, I was a little bit surprised because I still have a bias of looking for a potential short here on euro dollar. Like I still kind of look at this when we talk about this on Wednesday. I feel that this is still kind of like what I see here. It's still consolidating. It's just not really pushing down. Like I thought after this initial move, this was on last Wednesday, if I remember, had a really sharp bearish move down on Wednesday. And prices like correctively move up within this kind of corrective structure. And I really want to look for a short if it does kind of confirm, but it just doesn't really have anything here. Like we do have a few swing high now. We do have a corrective structure, good, but it doesn't have any kind of a bearish kind of confirmation. Like right now, if we like look at this, like this might be something here. Like it's kind of moving up correctively in this kind of sense. So I mean, I would just set an alert here just to see what exactly will happen. But because it has kind of moved back up quite a bit already, so it's not as interested or as good looking compared to a couple other things. Like you can see this sharp bear move down, and this correction is almost back to where it started. Usually when we want to look for continuation after a move down, like we want to see continuation like this, right? And then we want to look for sell after because we know how typically market is going to move. But in this case, it's a little bit sharper. You see a move down like this, but it's like moving back quite sharper like this. Like I would incline to sell something like this, right? But like something like this is not as ideal, right? Because this almost look like a pullback or reversal and then just start moving up. Whereas something like this is more recognizable for a potential continuation. So I thought this euro dollar here doesn't look as good. Like the right now, it looks more like this, right? So that's not something that really um, stands out in my opinion. But if I want to look for something, I would more inclined to maybe look for a sell, right? If the price does push down, maybe following a consolidation, or if the consolidation happened to be outside of the correction here, like a reverse down, continuation here on the lower time frame, I think that's fine as well. There's quite a room to the downside, right? But right now there's nothing, right? So we're just gonna have to wait. Pound dollar here. So if we kind of zoom out here on pound dollar, I feel like this is maybe the current structure we're in right now. We do have a multiple few swing highs and few swing low after this initial bullish up move. So it really depends on if this looking like a descending channel, pushing the price up, and then I felt like this could be a potential M style structure. As we know, M style structure is usually going to be reversal. So right now, and it fits the description of a M style pattern because the right side of that M is corrected, right? So those of you who watch this M style pattern video, this is exactly what we're looking for, right? Kind of a corrective move up for the price, which is good. This is what we're getting here right now. We also have kind of a lower time frame double top here as well, standing channel, and it really depends on if price is going to reverse down, right? This is what we want to see. Reverse down, corrective structure here, sell down to previous low, right? Definitely enough risk reward if this is something that we're looking for, right? Quite a bit of pips to do go down. So that's kind of my bias where it still stands. Just like I will look at this AMSL pattern to see if it's going to reverse. If it's not, then its likelihood to be following this almost higher time frame kind of structure. It's just like this latest bit of the development doesn't look like is going to be a bullish reversal pushing up. Like it might be after this consolidation over, like this might move down, maybe something like this, and then continue up afterwards. That's a possibility as well. But we're looking at solely what's going on here. I just felt like they're probably going to be a move down, whether or not it hits this low or maybe the previous low. This current structure right now, to me, it feels more like a bearish reversal, right? But only if it's confirmed with the price pushing down followed by correction, right? If that doesn't happen, then no trade, right? No entry, no trade. You move on to other opportunities. Okay, so that's pretty much what I see on euro dollar, pound dollar. Like my bias right now, at least on a kind of the lower time frame or mid time frame, is possibly wait for a bearish kind of development. Um, I feel like a lot of weekly outlook have been removed from your channel. They have not been. If you're looking at TradingView, unfortunately, TradingView doesn't keep them forever. Unfortunately, they don't allow you. Like you can select the stream to be kept forever, but they don't on their server. But YouTube is there forever, so you can go on my YouTube channel, like playlists, or you can go home. All the streams are here, so you can take a look. Like these streams are all there as well, right? So you can rewatch as many streams as you want from before. I'll continuously be doing them, so you can continue watch me doing them live. So let's continue here. We went over euro dollar, went over pound dollar. Let's talk about Kiwi Swiss. Someone mentioned Kiwi Swiss short. So Kiwi Swiss short, we zoom out here. I remember last week there was someone talking about long, and I feel like overall higher time frame at the time, maybe a few weeks ago, was looking like it could be a possibility of a long. This was a few weeks ago. I felt like this could be something like a potential inverse head and shoulder if it does develop off the right side, if this right shoulder does confirm something. But I think after a couple weeks, it doesn't look as bullish anymore. Like I know we were looking at this as a potential bullish continuation, but we kind of have to accept that if the lower time frame doesn't kind of cooperate, then it's not likelihood to be that move that we're looking for right away. It might develop a little bit more, or it might just kind of continue to correct a little bit more. Now, I do recognize there's something happening here. Like I felt like there's a correction structure right now, and price is basically forming potential downside movement. It just really depends on if you see this as a correction here, or if you want to pray for the price to push down, followed by correction, and look for a sell. That's a possibility as well. Um, but I do agree. If I'm looking at this correctly, if I'm just looking at the lower time frame, so to speak, there is a potential like this could be something. But I also kind of also see that price had a push up and kind of pull back here, and then probably the most that you can sell down to is the previous low anyway. So it's kind of like a, to me, it's just a okay trade, but it's not something that I will look for sell. Let's look at dollar Swiss. Someone mentioned dollar Swiss as well. Um, Not too much on my opinion. Not too much here. I if I'm looking at this lower time frame wise, like there's something going on here, right? It looks like a bearish move down, bullish reversal, and then looks like a bullish continuation. So perhaps this is something that could continue moving higher. But when I kind of just like zoom out here, uh, I didn't really like how this descending structure wasn't able to push the price up to the previous high. Kind of just like create a structure here, move down to like the previous low, and then continue moving up. So to me, not as clean as something that I would be looking out for. Like if I imagine like this could be something to go long, if you felt like this is enough of a confirmation or development to do so. But it's just not something that I will look for entry, to be honest. So let's continue here. What else do I see here? How do I manage corrective impulses? Can you be a little bit more specific on that? Corrective impulse, you mean an impulse within the correction? If an impulse is within the correction, like something like this, if that's what you meant, then um, there's always a tendency that, let's say, if you're in a structure like this, if the price doesn't really impulse out of the structure and form continuation after, there's always a chance that price may kind of bounce back or pull deeper pullback, right? Like when we look at euro yen, um, whenever there's a price you see like this, there's a impulse within the corrective structure like this. Then really break out of this larger kind of mid time frame correction and then did a really sharp, deeper pullback, right? So when situation like this, usually I would want to move down the stop loss. If you're in some sort of trade, you want to kind of protect your profit, so to speak, right? I felt like it's only if the price has confirmed impulse out of any structure, then looking for a continuation would be more ideal versus a impulsive phase that happen within the larger corrective structure. Sometimes they make deeper pullback, and let's say if you were to sell this, right? Let's say if you enter the sell here or here, it didn't really impulse out, it didn't really form continuation outside of mid time frame structure, then chances are you want to start, potentially collect profits or something, and then because a deeper pullback may happen before another down move like this. So a few people say Aussie dollar long or Kiwi dollar long. We'll take a look at that as well. So Aussie dollar long, um, not really. I mean, I'm not really seeing the long right now. Like I'm just gonna, I'll explain kind of my view on it, of course, right? Everyone has different kind of bias on this, but to me, I feel like this is still overall a bearish kind of trend, right? Like if we look at this previous sell down to the low, now we're forming corrective structure. Like right now, we're consolidating here. Like this move down has not really show us any bullish move yet, right? Like as long as the price is still consolidating in this fashion, I still feel like this is still a bearish kind of move. Now it really depends on this last bit of the price. Is it going to basically start reversing from this point? Like right now, you can see there is actually like an M style pattern here, right? This is an M style pattern at the time. It was actually looking really clean, right? This is what I see at the time before I went to sleep. We basically have an M style pattern. We have a reversal, and I thought this might be a move down and continue down. And I was gonna wake up today in the next session to see what's gonna happen. But basically, what ends up happening is it creates larger kind of, it kind of pushed down, and then it pushed down to this previous low, and then it didn't really continue to the low, and now it kind of just like starting to move back now afterwards. So I'm struggling to see what exactly is going to happen here. It looks like it is pretty much still consolidating. So um, there's no clear right now whether or not this is going to be a reversal or a continuation, right? So I'm going to look at this part of the price because it is doing something like this. You're going to see what's going to happen here, right? But if I zoom out of here, I still feel like this is a bearish move down, right? So my bias here kind of remain the same. I still kind of, if this part of the price doesn't break out followed by continuation, like start showing us bullish kind of reversal, then I still hold the bias that this could be a potential sell if this structure holds. So that's Aussie dollar. We'll look at Kiwi dollar. So someone mentioned Kiwi dollar long. I mean, my it's kind of the same as Aussie dollar. The reason being is like when I look at this chart, like I still see this as a double top. I still see this kind of like an AM style pattern. So AM style pattern reversal. And this area of the price is similar like Aussie dollar, where price is at this kind of previous high, right? We have like a double top here. And this ascending structure moving the price up correctively, we did have a push down, and but we have not seen any bullish price action, right? So I'm not sure um, what is your confluence on this one, but I don't really see a bullish price action yet. This is still kind of what I see is like when I zoom out, I feel like this is still kind of a bearish kind of trend because of this overall move. So same approach like Aussie dollar. If this moves up followed by correction to go higher, then it will kind of void what I'm saying here, right? But if it's still kind of remain here, we still within this kind of top. If the price action on the lower time frame kind of commits to a downside, then it still holds my I still hold kind of my overall bias for a potential sell, right? And my bias here is still looking for a downside move, depending on what this consolidation will do, and really depending on this last bit of the price, what exactly it's going to do in this area here. So that's just my opinion on it. Hope that makes sense. Let's continue here. Aussie cat short. Um, so there's a few ways. I was looking at this actually when I woke up. So there's a couple ways of looking at this. You can either see this as kind of a descending structure and potentially it's going to move up. But I also kind of agree that you might be seeing it this way, like overall price could be bearish as well. It just depends on how one person views it, right? So there's a lot of correction here. You see how I point out a few corrections here. like you can see a lot of impulses correction, but overall this move isn't as impulsive, and this is why I'm a little bit hesitate to kind of look for a short. I do agree if we kind of just looking at the impulses, it looks something like this, but usually we want to see something like this where the corrections are more like that and the impulses are sharper to move down the price. But you can see this bit of the area is not as impulsive as something that we want to see, right? To me, that's the difference here. So if you're looking for short, if you're looking for sell, like you're probably gonna see it as the same way as how I draw this, right? Like you might see the correction like this, right? So if you're looking for sell, depending on what happens here, I think like there's like a head and shoulder pattern here, right? It looks like, but I think the only downside is what I point out is the move isn't as sharp as something that we want to see. Okay, so just be aware of that. That's really all I can point out on this. I think there's possibility of this sell if that's something that interests you. And I do agree. So I do agree there is something developing here, but just keep in consider that this bearish move has not been as impulsive. That's all I want to point out. Okay, so I hope that kind of help you to make your decision on this one. So euro dollar again. Yeah, we can take a look at euro dollar again. Uh, there was a lower time frame correction for short. Which lower time frame are you talking about? Are you talking about the current one we talking that we're in? So we did kind of point out that there could be something like this. So I kind of set alert to see what's going to happen. But I also point out I guess the downside of this one is if you look at this bearish move down from the price, this was last Wednesday, and this corrective structure is a little bit steep. Remember, I talked about this earlier, is that usually when we see a correction, we want to see a little bit more like this as a continuation to continue downside. Whereas this case is a little bit sharp like this, right? Something like this almost. Well, it can still go down, don't get me wrong. It's just that I rather see something like this, which is more likely to play out than like a steep correction like this, which is what it's doing. Okay, so that's to me the difference of it, right? Like this is more steep compared to something like this. So I do set alert here. I just want to see what exactly we'll do here. This is kind of like that ascending channel within the larger structure, right? So I want to see if it's whether or not this is going to continue to the downside, and if it does form correction here, it could be a correction here, or it could push down and form correction outside of the structure. I think that's fine as well. That depends on kind of how you want to see this, but my bias remains the same at this point. Like I still see this as like a bearish kind of reversal from this double top here, from this head and shoulder pattern here, from this kind of right shoulder here. I guess the only thing that will kind of void what I'm saying here is if price is going to push up and correct, right? If it push higher, then everything I talk about in terms of a bearish bias is no longer there, right? If it's no longer there, then of course we're not going to short them or look for a short setup if it does develop, right? So let's continue here. Swiss yen. So Swiss yen here. I remember last week we were talking about Swiss yen, and at the time of the price, I think it was like somewhere here. And I mentioned at the time, I remember this was somewhere around here. I think it was like Wednesday when I did the stream. It was like Swiss yen out of all the yen hasn't really kind of pushed down, so to speak. Like a lot of these yen pairs had this move down from the price, right? If you notice from last week on Wednesday, there was a lot of push down from the price like this. Pretty much all the yen has that bearish push down except Swiss yen, right? So Swiss yen was a little bit slow, but it did nevertheless end up pushing down afterwards. But you can see, like, I'm looking for a short now will be a little bit too late. Like the price has already kind of pulled back. It's the same as every other yen right now. Like I think the sell was kind of finished already, right? During it had a really sharp move down during market open, but this really sharp of the reversal on the lower time frame doesn't really give you a bearish bias anymore, right? Like at the time around here it was good, but now it's just gonna start reversing back up, and we're still quite a bit way before the low, but it doesn't really give us bearish development right now. Like something could happen here maybe in a couple of days, right? But right now, at least, there's not much going on here for me. I felt like the sell is kind of already over. It's pulling back, it's reversing, so nothing really stands out for me at this one. Just my personal opinion, of course. If you have different view, of course, welcome to share, right? Kiwi Cat. Let's take a look at Kiwi Cat. So Kiwi Cat, did any of you guys got in on this one? I did. I remember I mentioned I did get out of the trade somewhere around here, if I remember, when price moved down. I got in this. I got in the buy here. If you remember last week, I got in the buy, price consolidate, and then push down. So I got out of the trade, and it ended up just kind of forming maybe a deeper correction before the upside. But I didn't hold through this correction, so I think I got off somewhere here. And there is a move back here on Thursday and Friday, so I'm not sure anybody caught this one. But I think it's the same. My kind of my bias here remains the same, right? Like price hits to the high. Can the price breaks higher? If it does, then wait for a correction to buy again to the previous high. But right now, it kind of just hit the high of this structure here. Like we can see now, there's a bigger structure in the making. It hits the high here. It doesn't really look like it's continue right away. Now it can consolidate here. If it consolidates, it's a good thing. Then we can look for more buy. But if it doesn't consolidate, sometimes what it ends up doing is gonna just like move another move down and then make a bigger structure and then make another move up afterwards. Remember, this consolidation can go on indefinitely, right? We don't know when a correction can finish, and this is the part about trading where that's the uncertain part. Is right now this is looking really clean to go upside, right? But sometimes this move doesn't right away push up. It just makes another move down, just makes a bigger structure of it, and then start forming bullish reversal here, and then continue up afterwards. That's generally going to happen from time to time as well. So just be careful on this. I would still hold the bias of a bullish up move. We've been looking at this for weeks now, right? It's just that this latest bit of the price looks like it's a pretty sharp down, right? You can see it hits the top of the structure. Doesn't really form any bullish continuation. Instead, it's like reversing down, correction. It looks like it's another correction here. Okay, so just be careful of that, right? Right now, there is nothing that we can look for entry or anything. So you're just going to have to wait and see if this is going to make another move down before corrects here to move higher. Or if it's going to consolidate here at the top of the overall structure here, then perhaps we can look for another buy to the high. Okay, so that's what I see on Kiwi Cat. Subtitles, there is a subtitle after the stream is over because this is live. I think that's why maybe the subtitle doesn't show up, but After the stream is over, you can rewatch it, and YouTube will automatically put a caption, so you can watch it in with subtitle and stuff. Dollar yen sell maybe not over yet. Let's take a look at dollar yen. Yeah, so I updated the dollar yen chart. I was looking at dollar yen. It's similar concept, right? Like euro yen, we did have a consolidation here. Price is pushing down, and I talk about if we can break this low, which is what the price is doing now, and if we can like consolidate here, I feel like there is another move down to the next low. So it depends on if this correction is over. If it is to correct this move, then we finish correcting, and maybe we can get another move down afterwards. So I do agree. I do agree that like my bias here is looking for more sell, right? It's kind of black and white here. Downside, correct, downside to the previous low, right? So um, what I want to see here is we broke this low, right? And is this forming something here? Kind of look like this. I kind of join the structure here just to see whether or not this is going to correct. We did have a pretty sharp push down, but you can see these are somewhat resemblance, right? So a bearish move down, we pull back, and then bearish impulse down. Now we broke the previous low, and then we form another consolidation. But we are kind of forming a corrective structure here as well. So I said I'll set an alert here just to see what's going to happen. If it's going to kind of come into the downside, then I'll be interested to see what's going to do if it does. But I do agree, like my bias here is still looking for a bearish move down, right? So this could potentially continue. If it does, then likelihood to continue most of the other yen pairs anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Uh, Properly journal your trade. I have several videos on how to journal your trade. Let me just see if I can pull them up. There's a couple of videos on trading plan. There's a couple of videos on journaling. You can go on my YouTube channel. You can go introduction to trading. There's another one down here, how to effectively trade journal. So watch a couple of these. Here's my honest view on journal is that you don't need to buy anything fancy or whatever, crazy documents that help you to do the journals. You only need a couple of things, right? You only need to journal your winnings and losings. You only need those date entry, kind of what entry you do. That's going to help you, right? Because we went over this, a few years ago where you want to have a couple of these things that talk about, okay, what is your entry date time, what is the pie, and what is your analysis of forecast. This is the important part, is to have a forecast and analysis before the trade, and then screenshot the trade that you enter, and then management after it. What happened to it afterwards? Did it continue towards your downside, or did it not? Write a couple of things so that you know that how the outcome of the trade is going to be, and you review them, because you're gonna journal down winning trades, and you're gonna journal down losing trades as well. So you can review them. You can see the losing trade. Why did it lose? Did you follow your plan or not? Did you get emotion? No, did you get emotional when you enter trades? Things like that. And if it's winning trades, then you're gonna repeat the same process, because if those trades play out, and if you follow your plan to enter any of the setups, then continue to follow them accordingly, right? Um, So question here is, do I always consider the amount of pips you use as a stop loss, or do you just risk based on what your analysis give you? What my analysis give me, but I also agree that you should not, like, my minimum amount is probably 20 or 25 pips or so. Um, Nothing more, sorry, nothing less than that, right? I think we talk about this. I always stick to this rule where at the minimum stop loss would be at least 20 pips or more, right? Usually like I don't think I've ever even have a 20 pips, probably like 25 or 30 for some of the dollar pairs. And as you get to like pound pairs, they're like going to be like 60, 70 or 80 or whatever, right? But the real answer to answer your question is go by whatever the structure or correction is, right? Like let's say for example this entry here, if I was going to set an entry order, I would at least protect the entry order. So like I would want the stop loss to be higher than the correction overall. So this time I was like pretty generous. I would say like 50 pip stop loss in this case. Like you can enter a little bit earlier. You can have a tighter stop loss if you want to. It's all relevant in this case, but in the end, you want the stop loss to protect the trade and not to, squeeze the stop loss so you can have more profit. I think a lot of traders do that, trying to make more profit by squeezing the stop loss tighter. And that may have worked out for you from time to time, but we're in this trading business for long term, right? So generally, I don't recommend people squeezing their stop loss just because you're choking the stop loss a little bit, and a lot more times price hits your stop loss and then continue, and you're gonna get very emotional from it. So generally, is looking at what the price action is doing. Let's say if you want to enter reversal, then you want to put the stop loss above the high. If you want to enter a continuation correction, let's say you see this as a continuation correction, then you want to put the stop loss above the high of the correction as well, right? So you want to look for something like this as an example. So not in respective of the amount of pips, it just really depends on the correction. If a correction requires you to have a bigger stop loss, then so be it, right? That's just how it is. So you never want to, squeeze the stop loss because you want to make more profit, right? The stop loss is to protect your trade overall. So I find that squeezing it is not good for the long run. Do I add time to your confluence? What do you mean by time, though? Right? Like, do you mean by the time frames, or do you mean how long it has been going? Um, if you're talking about sessions wise, well, definitely the market moves more during the New York session or London session generally, right? Like, but this time in Asian session, price moved down as well, right? So, if you're talking about the sessions of the market, sure, I would consider, because obviously during those sessions the market moves more. There's more volume, right? The volume is higher during those sessions, so the price moves more, right? Reversal entry type real trade example, this is exactly the one, right? Euro yen, we talk about reversal entry. We wait for some sort of corrective structure. You set an entry order as a reversal, so you basically put the entry order below a correction like this, stop loss above the high. And this is riskier because it hasn't confirmed the downside. What will be a better entry is probably something like this, where price pushed down, broke out the structure, and then this could be a continuation correction. You could potentially look for entry like this. This will be a smaller correction after breakout, right? This is another entry, but I felt reversal entry was the better choice just because we talk about the mid time frame has been clearly breakthrough by a impulsive phase. And I like how we were forming a head and shoulder at the time. Bearish move down, potential bearish continuation, and I felt reversal entry down to previous low gives you better risk reward, so I choose to do that. So let's continue here. Euro Kiwi. Let's take a look at Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi still consolidating, right? Like it feels like this is still the consolidation. I think it's been in this consolidation for a couple weeks now. So to me, nothing much has changed. Like it looks like this is still that consolidation, right? And I think it was last Wednesday we talked about if we can consolidate here outside of the structure, at least it can confirm that there is potential for more downside. But it doesn't even consolidate here, right? You can see on the lower time frame, it doesn't really even consolidate. It pushed down and then pushed back up, it pushed down again, and now it's pushing back up. So not much here for me. Like I would more inclined to look for a bearish move, but it has not confirmed anything yet. So pretty much nothing here for me. But I would imagine this is more looking for a downside move if there is a continuation correction here once it breaks out of this structure, but it doesn't look like it's doing that right now. So not much here for me. Higher time frame euro yen pretty much is looking like they're higher time frame euro yen. To me, it looks like this is the larger head and shoulder, right? So that's why it adds the confluence to the trade I took on Sunday or when market opens, because we have the larger head and shoulder. We basically have a confirmed impulse and confirm kind of a right shoulder, so to speak. So I would imagine this is looking bearish to me from my perspective. But right now you can see price has already kind of pulled back quite hard. So I would imagine this could be just forming maybe a larger structure now. Like if this moves up correctively to the high here, right? Something like this, maybe forming a double top. All that's showing you is that this area of the price is consolidating. If we move up correctively here, they may just be another move down, selling to the bottom, right? Remember, price can, all it needs for price to continue is at least, remember, keyword is at least two swing high and two swing low, correct? But sometimes price move down and just makes another move up, making it three swing high and three swing low, and then continue. And sometimes price does that, move down, and then makes another move up again before it continue, makes it four swing highs and four swing low. So my point here, what I'm trying to say is we're not 100% sure when this correction will finish, but every time when it does reverse back to the top, and if there is reversal corrections or price action or whatever, um, it's just it will be a better probability setup to follow through the trend because we're in that consolidation. We're at the top of that structure, and if everything still remains the same, I would still be inclined to look for some sort of bearish sell setup, right? So it'll be interesting to see this if it does push up, if it does correctively move up, and if there is bearish reversal price action, then looking for sell is fine, right? Because overall to me this is still that larger head and shoulder, and everything here on the lower time frame still kind of aligned with what we're seeing, right? Like this is still that strong bearish impulsive phase. Naturally, I still believe this is going to be a consolidation to correct this move, and eventually we're going to see more impulsive phase to the downside. Okay, so that's me on Euro Yen. Aussie dollar, we went over that earlier, right? So I talk about that, like my overall kind of bias here is more leaning towards a bearish move, just because we have been in a bearish trend. Nothing here right now, at least, is showing me anything bullish. Like I didn't see that yet, so I want to see what this of the price is going to do. It's a little bit odd. It looks like it's forming something like this. Like it could break higher and correct. If it does, then my bearish bias is no longer valid, right? If it doesn't do that, then as long as it's still within this consolidation, then I would still be inclined to see this as more bearish downside if it does commit. Okay, so that's all I have to say, because right now it's not doing anything, right? It's just kind of in the top of the structure right now. Um, it doesn't really look like it's reversing down, or it doesn't look like it's pushing higher at the moment. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. So in a day, how often do I check the charts? So I made a video, I think, about this before, but generally I don't check it too often. I think checking it too often is not ideal, right? If you're checking the chart too often, what ends up doing is you're gonna get very emotional, because like every move that price does, it's gonna make you very emotional, because you're seeing profit come, profit go. I generally recommend, if you can be there 2 out of the 3 sessions. Remember, there's New York, London, and Asian session. If you can be at the chart at least for that half an hour during that session, like right now we're in New York session, right? If you can dedicate some time during the New York session, like now maybe half an hour or something, to just kind of go through all the charts, go through all the lists of pairs, that would be ideal. And then you can recheck them again, where you can set alerts, but definitely don't check the charts like every minute or something like that, right? It's just like it's gonna make you very emotional. Of course, there's traders who do that because they're day traders or scalpers. They have to be on the chart every minute, and that's fine, right? That's their strategy and that's their trading style. Nothing wrong with that. But I find that a lot of traders can't handle the emotion or the swing, or that volatility, and it hurts them, right? Because you're seeing profit come, profit go, and you're just gonna end up, being very emotional when trade loses or when the trade gains some profit, things like that. So I recommend doing what I said. Try to be there half an hour during the 2 sessions if you can, and then see what trades you want to potentially enter, set alerts, set development, and then when the price does develop that, you'll get an alert. You can do that on TradingView. I usually do that, and then come back to the chart when the alert hits and take a look at the chart. If it fits your plan to enter, then enter accordingly. If it doesn't, then move your alert to see whatever the outcome you want to see, and then go do your things and come back when it develop into the right price action. So pound dollar, Nasdaq, yeah, we could go over those. So pound dollar here. So this is what I see, at least currently on pound dollar. Like at least there is some sort of structure going on. It looks like this is a bullish move, and this is a larger structure. And it really looks like this is like a decent structure pushing the price up. But this latest bit of the development, I was saying this at the beginning of the stream, is like it feels like this could be an M style pattern, but only if it's confirmed. Like if the price push down, correct here, and continue lower. Like this could be a potential trade. It's just that we're kind of in the middle of this consolidation, so there's always a risk that this might just be a bullish continuation. And if you look at the higher time frame, it kind of looks like that, right? It looks like this is a potential bullish continuation price action. So at this time right now, I just want to see what exactly this bit of the price will do. Like, is this going to reverse down, like I point out, correct and continue? Or is this not applicable? This is just an overall kind of pullback because this move is so sharp on the lower time frame, and this will continue up higher and kind of satisfy what we're seeing here on the higher time frame, right? This higher time frame wise, bullish up move continuation potentially to continue. So a little bit contradicting here on the lower time frame. So I just want to see if this M cell pattern will happen. If it doesn't, then I want to see consolidation here to maybe push the price higher, right? But if it does reverse, then like I point out, this might be that reversal price action, and price may correct here, push down to the low, maybe forming a bigger consolidation and then push up higher afterwards. So that's pound dollar. NASDAQ, not too much going on. I mentioned this in the beginning of the stream as well. I would prefer like Dow Jones here. I would prefer S&P 500 here just because they're still relatively within structure. And S&P is even better because it at least broke out of the structure, right? It broke out of the structure here, broke out this larger structure, and it looks like there's a smaller continuation. So it looks better compared to NASDAQ here, where it's hasn't break out this structure yet. Okay. So let's take a look at last bit. I'm going to wrap this up. We'll take a look at gold. So higher time frame wise, I think there's no question like this is a larger continuation for this move. I think it was like maybe a few weeks or a month ago, when the price was somewhere here, I mentioned I would more inclined to maybe see a bigger consolidation to push the price higher within this larger correction, right? But we basically, after this descending structure, we just have a really sharp bullish up move. So nothing much here. It looks like this is stalling, so to speak. Like it looks like an ugly kind of ugly. Sorry, like it looks like an odd kind of head and shoulder, or like it's not really pushing higher. Like before, there was a few consolidation here. I'm not sure if anybody got in on any of these gold entry, but I felt like their entry, nevertheless, if you're into something like this, you might enter some of these. I personally didn't, but I think this is a pretty overall bullish up move at the time. Right now, at least, this part of the price is not really showing us bullish price action, right? Compared to these ones that we have seen before, they're not the same anymore. So to me, this might be pulling deeper pullbacks, right? Because if you kind of zoom out, we already kind of move up quite impulsively already. So chances are we might get bigger consolidation, right? Because the move kind of feels like it's over already. So it'll be too late to jump into the buy now. The buys have kind of already happened, right? So I would say a deeper consolidation may happen. Then you have to wait for deeper consolidation. And we're also approaching to that previous high, or pretty much all-time high, so to speak. This is the all-time high, right? So, but to me, in the higher time frame, weeks or month or year, like I feel like this is overall going to eventually continue, right? Like gold price will go higher, right? If you're looking at this overall price that we're in right now, it's just like a clean kind of continuation, bullish kind of price action. Whether or not this continue up here in the months to come, right? Remember, this is higher time frame, so it's going to take months, or it may create a bigger correction here for another upside. But either way, my bias for the higher time frame, in the months to come will be bullish, right? So, but lower time frame wise, doesn't look like it's right now, at least. Okay, so I am going to wrap this up today now, guys. So it's been an hour or so. Last question here. Are you mainly a currency trader or do you trade whatever present good opportunity? Whatever present good opportunity, right? So there's commodities, there's indices that I do trade. I don't really trade crypto, but I will buy crypto for investment purposes, but not trade them. But I do will trade commodities, I will trade indices, I will trade Forex pairs as well. That's usually how I do it. Okay, guys. So let's wrap it up for today. I'm glad a lot of you guys joined me today. A lot of new faces as well. So very happy to be here for today. I am doing another one on Wednesday. So if you are interested, I try to do them twice a week. So I'll try to be here on Wednesday as well. So this is Wednesday. Oh, I haven't changed the date. Sorry. This is Wednesday. I think it's 22nd. So I'll be live Wednesday 22nd, same time New York session for another market update. Okay, everyone. So be safe out there, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you very much.